Expansion. I'm Megan DiMartino, and this is Wednesday evening, what is it today? The 8th of July, wow, 2026. And guys, so good to have you here with me tonight. And it is almost, it's about 11:45 here in central US. I'm in the Austin, Texas area. And I just wanted to come on tonight to talk to you about the time is now. Now, we talk about the Propel expansion, meaning propelling your life, expanding your life, establishing that clarity of why you want to do something, what you're doing, then taking that step, building that courage muscle, and that courage muscle will give you that confidence to continue on and commit to it. Commit to whatever that is. And then compassion. Compassion is the fifth C, and that is compassion for yourself. That so many dreams, goals, and desires have been aborted from the lack of compassion for yourself. And what I mean by compassion is giving yourself grace, because God is giving us grace all the time. We don't even realize it, but that grace abounds. And it's in the small things, the large things, things that we really don't really connect the dots, that in between the lines, God is there with us always, never leaving us or forsaking us. But the essence is give yourself that grace, because the battlefield is in the mind. And it, as I said, the greatest dreams and goals are often aborted or stopped in its tracks because I can't do it. I don't have enough money. I'm not prepared enough. I don't have the experience. It's not the right time. All those things. But you know what, guys? The time is now. Because if you don't, it will never be. It will never be. And so it's so imperative to really take that time to really prepare. Now, when I say prepare, what I mean by that is the first step is clarity. And so if you do not know or hold in your heart that you're going to do whatever it is, then it won't happen. So let me just share a few points or anecdotes to that. I always thought I was going to be, I'm talking about when I was, let's say, in high school, because I used to design with my mom, who was a great seamstress. So I was the designer and she was the actualizer, the creator. Hello, as you're coming in. Welcome to the Propel expansion. I'm Megan DiMartino, and this is the Wednesday night Propel. And I'm so glad you're here. Do subscribe. It helps other people to find us. And ring that bell, and you'll be notified when I go live. Was sharing about the topic for tonight I write these things, and the time is now. Procrastination is one of I was saying that the greatest culprit of aborting dreams is that fear of failure. And failure is not really a reality. It's just a propelling, again, that word, to the next step, meaning that you learn from mistakes. If you do not learn, you will repeat. But if you do take heed and learn from them, because guess what, guys? I can't even put numbers to the times that I've made, tactical errors. But the most important piece, and that's what was starting to share with you guys, is when I was a young gal in high school, I wore a uniform to school. So, in those days, clothing was very different on many levels, meaning from a cost standpoint, where you bought them, things of that nature. Today, you can just go on Amazon and bingo, it's at your door, in 48 hours. But a very different time, very different structure, very different cost. But nonetheless, I used to pore over Vogue and, just really just dreaming that desire of creating. So I've always known I was a creative. I've always known that I was going to do something creatively. But New York was my DNA. I lived outside of the city, went into Manhattan often, and just walked around, went to the museums, popped into the stores, in and out, boutiques, downtown, uptown, east, west, with girlfriends, by myself. I would, the city was very, very important to me. As a kid, my father and mother also loved the city, and we would go into the city often. My father, was a hardworking guy, and so it wasn't about going to fancy restaurants. It was just going in and exploring. So my father was a great explorer, and he taught me that exploration, and that gene not only is from my dad, but my ancestry as well. They're all immigrants, came over not on their own, didn't come as babies, except for my grandmother, DiMartino, but the rest did not. And so they were explorers as well. So anyway, that's not the point. The time is now. And so I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. So my mom and I would create my prom dresses, my party dresses, my, whatever. And we would go to the pattern stores and just, pick out different sleeves and backs and waists and so forth, meaning she could put that together. She knew how to take a pattern and break it up. And so I really wanted to be able to do that. Now and learn, and go to school, FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology, in Manhattan. But my father had a different plan. He said, no, you can go there after college, but you need to go to a traditional school. So I did, and majored in fashion merchandising. So I worked in the field, and I worked initially in Lord & Taylor in a buyer's training program that they had, which was really good. And the buyer that I worked for was a wonderful person, Mrs. Letty Peppard, very creative and very, just a very, very wonderful mentor, had a great heart for sharing her knowledge. And so I was a young gal, and she would often say, why don't you join me? And we would go to some of the showrooms of the lines that we carried in the department. And this was, in those days, it was called Country Clothes, and it was quote unquote designer sportswear. Well, anyway, that's the background. That's what I thought I was going to be a fashion designer. So I took a left turn. Now again, life is not a straight line. And so I took this left turn and was introduced to that world through that program while I was in college. And so I loved it, but it wasn't fashion design. But then God had a different plan, and I got married and had a child. And so that basically ended that plan. Now, I didn't feel, woe was me. That's not the point. But the point is that plan of being a fashion designer did not happen. Doesn't mean that I couldn't have gone back and done it, but there were so many things involved now, and it wasn't just me making these decisions, it was decisions for other people. So that didn't happen. But I never lost the dream of creating. And so with that said, I then kept working and learning. I do this because it was a up, down, in, out, around. And so I'm not going to go into my life story here. You can read my book, Hope and Possibilities Just Over the Horizon. But my point is that if I hadn't started and kept going, I wouldn't be where I am right now. Now, I'm not saying I'm at the paragon of greatness. That is not my point. But my point is, I have been fulfilled throughout this journey from a creative position, and that was my dream. My person, in my personhood, is that my passion is creative. My purpose is you, to help you identify your dreams, your goals, and your desires, and help you attain them. Because one of the things that I truly see with people, having mentored many people over these years in building businesses, that many people really do not identify or understand what their passion is. They really don't. They have an inkling possibly, but they're not clear on what that really, that burning desire, where you would burn the boats, no matter what, you would keep on going. And I was very clear that I was going to continue on learning, growing, because again, folks, make no mistake, you cannot do anything really. And I mean really, really in depth, because today so many people just gloss over the surface. With social media, you can perceive that you're gaining information, but it's just a very one-sided, and it's imperative to really delve deeply into facts. There's many factors in building businesses, and one is absolutely that why. What is it that drives you? But in order to succeed in business, there's so many other factors. And I was very blessed and that's what brought me to Texas from New York many, many years ago, and many years after starting all this. I was offered a job with Alcon Laboratories in Fort Worth, Texas, and I took that job, not because I wanted to come to Texas. No, didn't really want to, but I did because in those days, there was no way to glean information. I mean, there just wasn't. It wasn't available unless you surrounded yourself with experts. And the best and only way really was to, because it wasn't these seminars and masterminds and conferences. I mean, zillions of ways to glean information today wasn't available. So you had to surround yourself with people like that as you worked. So I took that job and moved my family to Texas. Yes. As a single mom and single person and single everything to a strange land of Texas, that wasn't the easiest thing. But again, I was driven to learn and grow, and the only way I could do that was that. So I share this little piece here because, it's the beginning stages, but everyone has a beginning, and that's not where you end, but God knows the end from the beginning. And so you just need to, though, be clear, and that's where that clarity comes in, clear on that passion, because, as I shake the phone, but that passion is what's going to drive you and sustain you. That, as I say, the Propel program is to start, scale, and sustain the business and life of your dreams. Because your life needs to integrate into your business. Because if you don't have a life, then you might as well keep your job, because then that business that you're creating will become a job, and you might as well not have the risk to reward with starting your own business, because as I said to you, there's so many different factors and factions to it. So the time is now. The scripture that I've chosen tonight for this is Isaiah 60. I love Isaiah. One of my favorite scriptures, that's not the one for tonight, but is Isaiah 43. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Shall you not know it? See, that's it. It's like that inner quiet, still voice. Shall you not know it? I'm even making roads in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. So meaning out of things that you may not perceive are even available or could actualize, God is creating those. So in the same vein, Isaiah 60:22. promises that even the smallest or weakest beginning will multiply into a massive and mighty nation. God will make this growth happen swiftly when the time is right. And I say the time is now, because you must start and never stop. So just know that there is always hope and infinite possibilities just over the horizon, but you must be clear, take that step. That will build that courage, saying, oh my gosh, I can do this, I can do this. And then that will build that confidence to continue on and commit to it. And that's where that burning the boats, that nothing will stop you, that you will continue on, that commitment. And then that compassion, the overarching compassion for yourself to say, that XYZ was really not a mistake. It was just something that I didn't know, and I learned from it. I mentioned this the other night, on Friday night. I went to see Young Washington. I recommend it highly. It is a really great movie, and I've listened to several people, historians, talk about it and how factual, and wasn't, so many movies take a thread of a fact and then weave a story around it, where this was really so factual in the essence of George Washington. But so it goes back to what I said about there is always a beginning. There's that beginning place, and then you learn from it and grow from it. And as George Washington spoke about providence, meaning that God has that guidance. And that's what I said at the end here. God will make this happen swiftly when the time is right. And I'll share this about swiftly, that word, because when things, you might say, oh my God, when is this ever going to come together? What is happening? But the interesting piece is when it is time, when it truly is time, and that's walking in faith, knowing that He is in control. And when you do that, then that swiftness, it's so interesting. I've had it happen to me many times. I've been, belaboring, when should I, shouldn't I, when will, all of those things. But underlying of having that trust and that faith in God. And when with that, knowing through prayer and communication with the Lord, asking, seeking, knocking, when that swiftness happens, then you know that you're in the perfect will of God. So thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you the next Propel expansion. So look for that notification, ring that bell. Oh, but I did want to share, I'm sorry, meant to share this. You can go to my link tree, which is propel.megandimartino.com/info. And my book is there, the Propel course is there, information for my TED Talk is there on innovation. But I also have a free community called the Propel Community, and I invite you to join me. Just go to propel.megandimartino.com/info and click on that Propel Community. You receive a daily message of inspiration and encouragement, bi-monthly newsletters, the archives for my interview podcasts are there. Initially, it's called Unique Leaders Live, and then it went into the Propel Deep Dive. And so all of those are there. Really great interviews of thought leaders in arts, entertainment, speakers, authors, just really cool people that you will really enjoy, listening to their stories of how they started, scaled, sustained, and potentially sold their businesses. So it's just a masterclass on the Propel your business and life. And my websites are there, product line, my Novitas Spa clinical products, shopping cart is there, information about the Novitas products. Also, I've been doing for the last 8 years regenerative stem cell work, and I represent a company called LifeWave, and this is extraordinary cellular health technology, patented, PubMed, peer reports. I mean, major. We all have dormant stem cells in our body. Stem cells, though, are the first cell that are created when you're conceived, and they are the non-differentiated cell. That means that they become what your body needs. But if they're dormant, how can they do that? That's why dis-ease sets in and inflammation with inflammation. So you need to activate your stem cells. And this absolutely will do it with your own photolight energy, photobiomodulation, which is in your body. So it's signaling, it's cellular health, everything that, it's just an extraordinary science. So go to propel.megandimartino.com/info, and there's information also about LifeWave. So I look forward to seeing you soon on the Propel expansion. But go to my Facebook page, my Instagram page, my TikTok, and I'm going to start doing some things on TikTok in the next probably month plus. So I'll talk to you soon. And remember, it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams, but it's time to start now. The time is now. Be blessed.